listeners an idea, 10 to the 94 grams, or 10 to the 93 to 10 to the 94 grams per centimeter cube is more than if I took all of the stars we see in the universe, which is billions and billions of stars, and I squashed them all into a centimeter cube. I still wouldn't have the energy density of 10 to the 93 gram per centimeter cube.
So it's...
When we're talking about the vacuum in quantum theory, we're talking about something that has extreme amount of energy.
Yeah.
And you could think of it as extreme amount of information. And so I started to think of this structure of the vacuum as something that is not chaotic, but it is actually very highly structured. And that, it's like an underlying geometry that creation emerges from and returns to. And the dynamics that we see in creation, like spin and electromagnetic field and all this other stuff we see, is actually just a function of the energy or the information moving from inside to outside and then back inside the system. And so right away, a torus shape emerged, which is like a donut, where the dynamics of spin and Coriolis effect would emerge going from the inside of the torus out and then back into the torus. I start to see the universe as not just an expanding universe, but as a contracting universe as well. And we just think it's expanding because we're on the expansion side. But if we were at the poles of it, it would be contracting if it's a torus. And I realized that because of Coriolis forces, there would be two toruses. So it would be like a sphere with two toruses in it, turning in the opposite direction. And when we look at the galaxy, that's exactly what we see. When we look at the plasma dynamics on the sun, that's what we see. Even the weather system on our planet produces a double torus structure.
Does that suggest, though, Nassim, that there is a specific size to the universe then?
Yes, it does. It says that our universe has a finite size, and that is a closed universe. And more and more data is supporting that now. Lately, data that has come from background radiation investigation has shown that our universe is most likely a torus, in fact. So there's more and more evidence that this theory is solid. Actually, there's been, at this point, hundreds of different sets of data from astrophysics to subatomic experiments that has supported the veracity and the robustness of this theory. So it's very exciting.
Very interesting. Why don't we talk a little bit about this aspect of a spin, or what you call the power of spin? You had this interesting, where you laid out basically, if you asked astrophysicists today why everything in our universe is spinning, there is no real answer to that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Meaning that they'll tell us, if you ask why is the Earth spinning, they'll say, well, because it's in the solar system. And the solar system and the sun is spinning. And then if you ask, well, what's making the sun spin? They'll say, oh, well, it's conserved from the galaxy. It's because the galaxy is spinning. And then you say, well, what's making the galaxy spin? And then eventually you get back to the Big Bang, and they say, oh, well, it all started in the Big Bang, which is, the Big Bang theory is like, it's like the god of science. In religions, they say God did everything. Well, in science, they just say the Big Bang did everything. But in both cases, it doesn't tell you anything about creation.
And
so
if that was...
My view is that creation is occurring continuously. And that, this description I was saying between what's going in and what's coming out, the dynamics, and that dynamics is even evident in your existence, in your day-to-day existence. You eat things, and that gives you energy, and then you do things on the outside of you, and that gives you information that goes back into you, and you interpret that information, and then you act upon it in a certain way outside, and that gives you more information that goes, and all this thing, like you can see that dynamic of the feedback between what goes in and what comes out everywhere, and the significance is that when this happens, the result is spin. And a good example for that is when you pull the plug on the tub after you've taken a bath. When you pull the plug, water starts to spin in. It doesn't just go in straight, it spins in.
Yeah.
And as water goes in, air comes out. There's an exchange. And so the exchange between the vacuum and what we call reality is the result of this information moving back and forth produce the spin that generates all of creation. And so I modified Einstein's equation to show that very dynamic being part of space-time itself, that space and time has this intricate intrinsic spin embedded in it. It's called a torque, a force that brings everything into motion, that brings everything into spin. And that is the source of all of creation.
Fascinating. And of course, this opens up many different areas, of course. But I mean, there's so many different things that this comes out of. For instance, you mentioned that in the vacuum there's information or energy then about. I guess that the information mainly is about how what the structure is going to be next time it is expanding again. Is that correct, or is there anything more in that energy or in that information in the vacuum?
Basically that the vacuum is like a huge hard drive, which is everywhere, and it's like impregnated with all of the information. It's in every atom. All atoms are mostly made out of vacuum, and basically it's each atom is a little dot, a little point of infinite potential, infinite density, because it has the vacuum at its center. And let me explain that a little bit. If everything is a little torus, a little donut, or a double torus, like two donuts on top of each other spinning in the opposite direction, like an electron and a positron, or like a north and south pole on a galaxy, you can think of like what's in the middle of the torus. Well, the middle of the torus is the vacuum.
Yeah.
And so in the hole in the middle, basically in the vacuum, all of the information is transferred back and forth, going from the equator to the poles, back into the middle and back out, and back into the middle and back out. And on my website I have a good animation of that. And what basically this does is that the vacuum is like this incredible, infinite potential energy. And it has all the information embedded in it, like a huge hard drive. And then when the information comes out, it's a dynamic function of the hard drive, just like your active memory or the ROM on your computer. Now it's active. And it's gathering information, and then it feeds it back to the vacuum. It feeds it back to the hard drive so that all things know where all things are and what they're doing.
Right. So
so that the vacuum can self-organize everything into existence.
This opens up the area of quantum communication or even instant communication. We're constantly trying to go faster in space and things like this. We're building stuff to go faster and faster all the time, but eventually we're going to reach the point of entropy. It's not going to go any faster. But would you say that this is an area that would open up a whole different new technology basically if we look at space travel.